From Drendel Ballroom in Prairie Lodge, this is part 4 of the Sun City Report, a 4-part program to keep you up to date on what's happening in Sun City, Huntley. Your host is your fellow Sun City resident, WGN's Orion Samuelson.
We're back with our second edition of the Sun City Report and the opportunity to meet a new neighbor. Well, relatively new. Bill Pinnock is Executive Director of Sun City Huntley. A job you've been holding down how long now, Bill?
A little bit over 4 months, Orion.
Well, I've been here 5 years, so welcome.
Okay.
Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. And just a quick background on where you've been and what you've been doing.
Well, originally from Illinois. I was born in Milwaukee, but lived first till 4th grade in Rockford. The whole family was from that area. My grandfather, my mom's father, was a reporter and editor for the Rockford Morning Star.
Really?
And my father's father started the YMCA in Rockford. In fact, the fitness center is still named after him, the I.D. Pinnock Physical Fitness Center. So we moved down to East Central Illinois, small town outside of Danville. I went to high school there, and then went to school at Eastern, and went down to Granite City, Illinois, first job out of college as their director of recreation for the Park District, and got into property management in Champaign-Urbana back in '81. Spent 8 years there, and then moved out to Williamsburg, Virginia, where I took a job as the first ever community manager with Anheuser-Busch. And you wouldn't think Anheuser-Busch was in the real estate development business, but they had a brewery out there in Busch Gardens, Europe, and had a 3,000-acre resort residential development that they had started back in the early '70s. And when I got there, it was about halfway developed, and so I had the opportunity to be on the development team as the property manager for the remainder of the development, and then went to work for a good friend of mine who I'd known for about 10 years, who was in the home building division, had two, one in Maryland and one in Williamsburg, and I ran his real estate development division for a couple of years, and then the market tanked. So
and life changed.
Found myself on the street back in August of last year, took a couple months off, and tried to really decide what I wanted to do when I grew up, and ended up answering an ad that Wentworth Property Management had for who is the contracting agent for Sun City Community Association. And I still have family in the area and thought it was a good opportunity to come back to Illinois, and very glad to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here. Now, for some of the new residents in the community and myself, what is your area of responsibility as Executive Director?
Pretty much the day-to-day operation, taking direction from the 7-person board of directors. The board sets the policy and governs the community, and then myself as the executive director and the executive team executes the day-to-day policies that the board has for the community. So
what was your impression of Sun City when you first arrived here?
I came out here for the initial interview back in November and was just shocked at the stunning beauty of the place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was overcast the first couple of days I was here, and then when I came in December 15th was my first day on the job, and I think it was a 40-mile-an-hour or 40-degree wind chill factor below zero, and then the second day was 12 inches of snow. So I've just been more and more impressed as I've had a chance to get around the community, to just the stunning beauty of it. And walking through the Prairie Lodge, I've been to quite a few community associations across the country, various conferences and everything else, and there is no other facility like this, like Prairie Lodge, nationwide. It's actually just an incredible amenity for the community.
I would agree with you. Now, as an executive director, I'm sure you look for areas that maybe need change or improvement. What would you look at there as things that need to be done?
One of the things that we could probably improve on, and I use we collectively, probably from the community on down, with 9,000 members, communication becomes an issue, and one of the things I've heard is I didn't know that was happening, but we have a lot of different resources. We have Channel 96 on Comcast, which is dedicated to the association. We've got our community website. We've got our monthly Lifestyles magazine. So I think one of the things I like to see is the membership be a little bit more active as far as going out and seeking out information. Read your magazine, check out Channel 96 periodically, check out the web portal, which is a community website. And I know from our end, and our being collectively the board and the staff, we're going to do everything we can to try to get as much information out there as possible.
Will the neighborhoods have an opportunity to meet with you on occasion?
Yes. The Neighborhood Advisory Council meets every other month, and that's the 3 representatives from each neighborhood, and then each neighborhood has their own individual meetings too. So I've attended quite a few of those since I've been here in the 4 months. it's really impressive for me to see how engaged the community is.
One of the things that attracted my wife and me to the community was the beauty that you've talked about, the landscaping and the trees and the wetlands area and the pond. Are we going to be able to maintain that level of quality and the appearance of the community?
All of the volunteer and the people that are on the boards and the various committees are volunteers. They're fellow neighbors and residents of Sun City, Huntley. Everybody's committed to the Sun City standard. One of the things that the board of directors is a process they're going through right now is trying to identify and define what that standard is. Whether it be the landscaping or maintaining the assets that we need to get replaced on a periodic situation, making sure the reserve study and the reserve fund that we have in place will be able to fund those assets. But to answer your question directly is I don't think anybody wants to see the landscaping detract at all. And I think that's one of the things that you might look at landscaping at first to try to contain costs, but in the long run, from a marketing perspective and trying to keep your community competitive with newer communities, you'd be shooting yourself in the foot if you try to cut the landscaping costs. Because that's when people come into the community, it's a wow factor.
Well, you mentioned expense. Talk to me about the financial health of the community as you see it now.
Sun City Community Association has almost a $9 million budget between the operating and the reserves. One of the things that's been a concern that really hasn't come to fruition is, of course, the economy has affected everybody nationwide and internationally. But we've been lucky here that we have not seen a spike in our foreclosure rate. In fact, our delinquent accounts are less than 0.9%, which applying the industry standard of 3% or less is considered very, very good. I would say that we're excellent as far as the collections go. Our cash flow is in good shape. We've got a very active finance committee that monitors the investments that we have. We have roughly $5 million in short-term and long-term investments, mid-term investments. They do a very good job of making sure that we're not only getting the return, but also that money is safeguarded against whatever could happen with the economy.
You mentioned earlier a resident saying, well, gee, I didn't know that was happening. We've got about 2 minutes left, Bill. So talk to me what's happening. Are there events and activities during the summer of 2009?
One of the things that's really impressed me about the whole community is just the way people are engaged from the board on down. And we have over 100 volunteers on various board committees and functions, and that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as the governance structure. Got an incredibly professional and dedicated staff. It's another thing that I've been very impressed with. And some of the functions that we've had that have been very, very successful was a consumer showcase. Had that about a month ago, the biggest and best one yet. Had our Charter Club Expo a couple weeks ago, which is when all the various charter clubs will try to do their membership rush and get new members. That was extremely well attended. We do have a new expo coming up. Probably the biggest thing as far as 2009 goes is the 10th year anniversary of Sun City Huntley.
Okay.
And we've adopted the motto of 10 years of dedicated excellence for the community association, but it's just amazing when you walk around, especially the lodge, and realize that this facility's been there for 10 years, as well as it's been maintained, and just it's just a very good testament to the fact the way it was built, and also just the people that make the community.
Before we leave, quickly, how can people get in touch with you?
The best way is at the member services desk. We have what we call it's a yellow form called Talk to Staff, and just go ahead and fill out whatever your request is, a complaint. We take compliments too. So if you got a compliment, bring those on too. And then we have a process where the department head will either delegate it or get back to the resident as quickly as they can.
Thank you, Bill. It's nice to get acquainted with you, and we'll do this again.
Thank you very much.
Our Executive Director at Sun City Huntley, Bill Pinnock, joining us here on this second edition of Sun City Report. Thank you for joining us. Let us know any comments or thoughts you have about this communications activity. Until the next time, I'm your neighbor, Orion Samuelson, saying thank you for joining us.
This has been the final part of a 4-part series of Sun City Reports here on the Sun City web portal. Your host is WGN's Orion Samuelson.